The year is 1290, and the Mamluk dynasty is no more. Turco-Afghan warlord Jalaluddin Khalji, through a series of events that saw him rise to become the regent of Sultan Shams-ud-Din Qayyumars, assassinated both Qayyumars and his father, Muiz-ud-Din Kaikabad. This would mark the beginning of the Khalji dynasty. At the time of his ascension, Jalaluddin was very unpopular as he lacked support from any of the nobles, was 70 years old, and had a mild nature. Soon, the people of Delhi warmed up to him and he gained a reputation as a humble and kind-hearted ruler. Despite this, in August 1290, Jalaluddin's nephew, Malik Chaju, staged a revolt, quickly gaining support from the nobles in the eastern part of the Sultanate. With this, he began his march towards Delhi. Jalaluddin responded to this by raising his own army and marching on him. They met up around Badaun and Jalaluddin defeated the rebels. Interestingly, once he captured the members of this rebellion, he was extremely lenient towards them. He had them released, dressed well, and entertained. He invited the high-ranking nobles to a feast, and he simply had Malik Chaju sent to prison in Multan. In 1292, the Mongol Empire invaded the northwestern part of the Delhi Sultanate. Jalaluddin responded to this by raising his armies and meeting them in battle, where he decisively defeated them. In another act of pure kind-heartedness, he allowed numerous ethnic Mongols to convert to Islam and settle in the eastern part of the Sultanate. Despite these appearances, Jalaluddin wasn't just a passive ruler. He also sought to expand the Sultanate's territory. The year before, he defeated the Chauhans at the Battle of Jain. Following this, he besieged the Chauhan capital of Ranthambore. However, he withdrew after realizing that the siege would cost many Muslim lives. Nevertheless, he besieged and captured the Chauhan fortress of Mandawar in 1292. During the same time frame, he attempted to invade the kingdom of Javalipura but was forced to retreat. During his reign, he faced numerous conspiracies. In one such conspiracy, some of Jalaluddin's courtiers planned to kill him and replace him with a nobleman named Tajuddin Kurchi. After finding out about this, he summoned the courtiers to a private conference where he shamed them for their actions, but he ultimately let them off easy, ending their meeting with wine drinking and poetry recitals. However, this next conspiracy was to be handled less peacefully. Sufi dervish Sidi Maula was accused of attempting to kill Jalaluddin. He was brought before him and pleaded not guilty, and, at Jalaluddin's will, was stabbed and crushed under the feet of an elephant. But the worst of these conspiracies was led by his nephew. You see, his nephew, Ali Gusharps, who was the governor of Kara, was urged by supporters of Malik Chaju's failed revolt to overthrow Jalaluddin. In 1296, Ali raided the Yadava city of Devagiri, and upon hearing about this, Jalaluddin marched south in order to meet up with him and collect the treasures from this raid. However, once arriving in Kara on July 1296, he was killed by Ali and his retinue. Ali seized the Sultanate and took the name Alauddin Khalji. Alauddin Khalji became the Sultan in 1296, and he spent the remainder of the year consolidating his control. However, starting in 1297, Alauddin began a series of military campaigns, both defensive and offensive, that would rapidly expand the power of the Delhi Sultanate. Let's start with the Mongol invasions. To begin, from 1297 to 1298, the Mongols launched an invasion of the Punjab region. Alauddin soon responded to this, defeating the Mongol army on February 6, 1298. The Mongols returned later in 1298 and captured Sivistan. Alauddin, with help from the Sumra dynasty, recaptured the fort in 1299. Later in that year, the Mongols invaded the Sultanate but were defeated at the Battle of Kili. 4 years later, while his armies were under the Chittor and Warangal campaigns, the Mongols once again invaded, this time reaching Delhi. Alauddin was able to return to the city with a portion of the army, and after holding up for over 2 months, he got the Mongols to retreat. In 1305, the Mongols once again invaded the Sultanate, but were defeated at the Battle of Amroha. The Mongols launched one last invasion into the Sultanate, but were defeated on the banks of the Ravi River. Now that we have the Mongol invasions out of the way, let's talk about Alauddin's offensive military campaigns. He began his campaigns with his conquest of Gujarat. Gujarat was under the control of the Vaghela dynasty. In 1299, Alauddin launched an invasion where he swiftly occupied the capital of Unhilwara. Here, he oversaw mass plundering and massacring. It was here that Alauddin captured a slave named Malik Kafur, who would eventually rise to become a respected general under Alauddin. Despite all of this, the Delhi Sultanate would officially conquer Gujarat in 1304. The year before, he oversaw the capture of Chittor Fort, ending the Guhila dynasty. In 1305, he conquered the Paramara dynasty, which ruled over Malwa, a region in central India. In 1308, Alauddin began his conquest of the Deccan, capturing Devagiri and forcing the Yadava dynasty into submission. In 1309, he organized an attack on Warangal, the capital of the Kakatiya dynasty, and the next year, the Kakatiya dynasty became a tributary to the Delhi Sultanate. Later that year, he also subjugated the Hoysala kingdom. Also, while not formally conquering the Pandya kingdom, he raided into the lands as far south as the capital of Madurai. In 1311, Alauddin ordered the massacre of the Mongol settlers in the Delhi Sultanate due to a conspiracy to kill him. In addition to this, Alauddin Khalji also instituted numerous reforms across his realm. His revenue reforms included transferring land revenue collection directly to the government, implementing a systematic land measurement called Mahshat, removing privileges for local landholders and nobles, and introducing taxes on cattle and houses. He instituted price control measures for a wider variety of market goods, creating government-controlled markets in Delhi, and implementing heavy punishment for hoarding. For the military, he massively expanded the army and began paying soldiers in cash instead of land grants. His social reforms saw him ban alcohol, gambling, prostitution, charlatans, and other intoxicants like cannabis. In addition, he increased his control over the Sultan's nobility and created a vast spy network. During the final years of his life, he got very sick and became extremely distrustful of others, consolidating all of the Sultanate's power within his family and slaves. This decision saw Malik Kafur become the de facto ruler of the Sultanate. Finally, Alauddin Khalji died on January 4th, 1316. He was succeeded by his son, Shihab-ud-din Omar. Shihab-ud-din Omar became the Sultan in 1316. Because of his young age, Malik Kafur served as his regent. In order to maintain control over the throne, Kafur ordered the blinding of Alauddin's son Khizr Khan and Shadi Khan, and the imprisonment of his other son, Mubarak Shah. These decisions angered Alauddin's former bodyguards, who, in response, murdered Malik Kafur and freed Mubarak Shah. Mubarak Shah soon imprisoned Shihab-ud-din and assumed control of the Sultanate. Mubarak Shah I became the Sultan in 1316. In order to win popularity, he undid many of Alauddin's decisions, such as releasing numerous people in prison during his reign, ending the price control measures, redistributing land to local landowners, and giving nobles more power. In addition, he was a poor leader, trusting the people he favored instead of experienced officials, allowing corruption to grow, and becoming heavily influenced by his general, Khusrau Khan. During his reign, he suppressed a revolt in Gujarat, and, in 1317, after the Yadavas stopped paying tribute, he launched an expedition and annexed their lands. In 1318, he further besieged Warangal as they had also stopped paying the tribute. Mubarak Shah's reign ended in 1320 when Khusrau Khan staged a coup and overthrew him. Khusrau Khan became the Sultan in 1320. He was extremely unpopular, and following his ascension, Ghazi Malik, the governor of Dipalpur, overthrew him. Ghazi Malik would take the name Ghiat al-Din Tughlaq, and from here, the Tughlaq dynasty took control of the Delhi Sultanate. So, in conclusion, the Khalji dynasty marked a significant turning point in the history of the Delhi Sultanate. Jalaluddin Khalji's reign saw the end of a Mamluk state in India, and Alauddin Khalji transformed the Sultanate into a great power, both through his defense of India from the Mongols and through his territorial expansions. Ultimately, the Tughlaqs would further expand the Delhi Sultanate, bringing it to its territorial peak.